Yay.
How much coffee have
Hello.
you had?
It's the Muppet Show!
Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Katherine D. Graham and I'm here with AR Witham, and I've got Tracy Joyce on today, and we are part of the Fantasy Book Critic blog portion of SPFBO or SPFBO, the self-published fantasy blog off. If you've been following the panels, then you met a few of us or other blogs before now. But I'm excited for today's because I've got Tracy and AR on. You guys are so much fun to chat with, and I love your books. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what kind of fantasy you write, and what book you put into SPFBO this year?
Tracy.
Okay. Oh, okay. I was going to throw to you. There you go.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. So I write, obviously, fantasy, epic fantasy. The book I have entered is Rada. Yep, camera that way. Yep, there we go. Rada's a little bit different to other stuff I've written in that the protagonist is only 6, and yet it's a dark, borderline, grimdark fantasy. She's a lot of fun. She's the sort of kid who would much rather be climbing trees and having sword fights and completely not conforming to her father's expectations of what a good young noble lady should do. And when her sister is born disfigured, she starts her fight to save her sister's life and to get her sister named, which embroils her in court politics. And she at times probably acts a little older than she should because she's been exposed to some pretty awful things in life. This is a nation where the god of war is the head of the pantheon, and she has routinely seen blood sacrifices. So she has this sort of older than she is mentality, and yet at times when things come crashing down, you really see her vulnerability as a kid that's had to deal with this kind of a world. So it was good fun to write, and hopefully fun for people to read.
I love that you've got a grimdark with a child main character. That's really original.
Well, thank you. One of the main characters, but yeah. We'll see how it goes. I'll just be happy if I emerge from the slush pile or even get a few extra reviews.
Is this your first year?
Really the ultimate goal. It's like, no, winning is not really an option. It's just so you catch 3 eyeballs. That'd be nice.
Yeah, or surviving relatively unscathed. You know, not as badly off as, say, my protagonist. So that would be good. Yes, it's my first year. I didn't even know that it was a thing until somehow I saw one of the posts or an interview or a book reviewer talking about it, I think, when I was going through booktubers. And then I went, oh, I must try and do this, and sat there with the alarm clock ticking, waiting for the countdown for it to sign on with all the windows open on the screen so I can cut and paste and get that form in. And luckily I did.
Wow. So I'm not the only newbie on the panel, and I know this is not your first time by any means. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you write, and about The Legend of Blackjack, which I have read. It was one of my 5-star reads.
That's very kind of you. Thank you. The Legend of Blackjack. Here, look, there's a book. You can buy it on Amazon and everything. It's got a cover and there are words inside of it. It's amazing. One of these new inventions. I think it may take off. The Legend of Blackjack is a young adult portal fantasy that's about the adventures of a 14-year-old foster kid who's kidnapped to a magical world and forced to save a life or be trapped there with no chance of escape. And the compliments that I've gotten on this, the one that I'm taking the most pride in is that it doesn't feel like YA. It has a 14-year-old as the protagonist, but it is absolutely written for young people and adults alike. So there's something in there for everybody. And in addition, it's got 20 full-page illustrations peppered throughout the book, just in case you get bored.
Did you do the illustrations yourself?
I did some of them myself, yeah. The stuff that an idiot writer could accomplish, those I did. And then the good ones are done by an actual artist. But
you're a
it's
man of
really
many
for people that are
talents.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you're a man of many talents, so I don't ever want to presume.
I'm lucky if I can claim one talent.
Uh,
But
so how,
the book is really for, like, if you like The Princess Bride, you're probably going to like The Legend of Blackjack. If you like Neil Gaiman, you'll probably be in good stead. So don't be afraid of the young adult title. There's no unnecessary whining.
and pining, you know.
And pining. Oh, the pining.
Did you put in a love triangle anywhere or not?
Oh yeah, there's a love triangle.
this is-
Friends to enemies, and lovers to friends.
Pisses me off so much when that happens in YA. It's just like, why?
You know what? I don't mind love triangles. I just don't like love triangles that are based on fear and half lies and misunderstandings. It's just like, come on. And I get it. We were all there once, but I don't want to be there again. Please don't take me back there.
I didn't think I was ever there. I don't think I was
You
ever there.
never went through that period where you're completely awkward with people that you wanted to date and had absolutely no idea what you wanted to say? You
I
didn't
was
go through that?
totally awkward, but I didn't want to date any of them. No.
Tracy
I only
Jones,
date people I'm
share it all.
awkward with.
It's like, no. I just sort of, and when in so much YA, girl meets boy, girl's brain turns to cottage cheese and she can't do anything
Sure.
for herself all of a sudden. Like,
Sure.
come on. Yeah, no. And some swooning, yes, no, not for me. I'm never going to write that.
You heard it here first.
Add in a
Yep.
horse and you're good to go.
Yeah.
So how many years have you done SPFBO now? Because Tracy's first and I'm my first here.
I haven't done. Blackjack was published 4 days after the last one closed. So I'm buddies with Chiago. Like we kind of launched together, and so we got to know each other pretty well. But he was, a little bit before me, and watching him go through it was really cool because you can see, I have no expectations to get to the finalists or the semifinalists or whatever, but the people that are in that kind of final 8 get a lot of attention and a lot of eyeballs, and all of them deserve it. So it's really cool to see what SPFBO can do for a writer.
And
So
you look at the sorry,
Oh,
Kat.
go ahead, Tracy. I'm sorry, there's a little lag.
Well, I am rather far away. You look at the excitement that everybody's feeling now just through getting in, and I can only imagine how much more amplified that is for the people who then get through the slush pile, who then progress to the next round, and then they don't find out for months. So they're going to be going off their heads, basically.
I've been asking every panel what they're going to be doing over the next 5 months while they wait. Are they going to be writing and editing? Or are they going to be watching Twitter going, is there anything on mine yet?
Just keep peeking over the wall. You guys done? You done?
Yeah.
Yesterday, Esme, so for those watching, Fantasy Book Critic has different reviewers that they've split the 30 books. So in SPFBO, there are 300 books. They're divided among 10 blogs, so 30 books per blog. And Fantasy Book Critic specifically has smaller bloggers that are taking each of those books. So Esme has mine. I don't know who has yours. I haven't spent a whole lot of time looking at the graph, but yesterday Esme tagged me on Discord and said she was starting my book, and I was like, "Get help!" I was like, "Oh, I know she's reading it now," so now I'm just like, "Oh."
Esme's a sweetheart, though. You can't go wrong. It's not like she's going to come up over the hill with a sniper rifle and go, "This was sucked." That's not her style.
Yes, I mean, she seems lovely, and I love her reviews. And I was just looking through her Goodreads now that I know, about her reviews, and I was like, wow, there's a really eclectic group of fantasy represented from not just her, but a lot of these bloggers. So which bloggers are you guys assigned to? Do you know? How do you feel about it?
You answer that one because
Oh, okay. I think
no
I think I'm
idea.
with I think I'm with someone called Adam at Fantasy Book Critic. So I have no idea what to expect because I don't know him. I haven't managed to find a link to his Goodreads profile so I can check out his reviews. But it is what it is. I'll survive or not.
Survive or not?
I mean,
I
no
will-
pressure. There is a lot of really great authors this year, and it's made it so exciting because it's like, even if you don't make it through, I feel like you'll know that you didn't make it through because you were with some of the best people. And then if you do make it through, you're like, well, I made it through among some of the best people. So it's just a win-win all around.
Yeah, and I think it's just a good experience to be involved as well, and to actually meet other authors, because so often we're isolated, we write on our own, and to actually pick up the vibe and catch some of that energy and make some connections is good.
I just looked it up and I found out that I have Mahir, who is actually one of the few reviewers on the list that I haven't actually spoken to, and we're not allowed to.
I know.
No
It's
graft and corruption around here. Thank you very much.
No, I can't
No,
send a
that's
gift.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually were switching books around to blogs where people didn't have, pre-existing relationships with them. And after SPFBO, I've been told you can reach out to bloggers who had your work and maybe request reviews from bloggers who weren't assigned your book that you thought your book would be a good fit for afterward. But this is my first year doing it, so I don't know. I haven't done that. If you guys are watching and you're like, what ends up happening, come back in about 5 months and I'll tell you what ended up happening.
Well, Fantasy Book Critic had, I don't know if everybody does it this way, but I really like the way that they kind of set it up, where it's like, okay, everybody gets 6 books, and you pick whichever of your 6 books works best for you, and that one will go through to the semifinal round. And I love the idea of, okay, we've selected these, and then you get an opportunity to check out the whatever it is, 5-6 books that they've talked about and picked, and then they get into the final round where they go, okay, this is the one we're sending out. I just thought that was a great setup.
Yeah, and I think a couple of the other blogs are doing something similar where they were like, we're splitting them up, everybody's going to pick the one they want to put through to semifinals. So, but there's a lot. When I saw the list, I'm not going to lie, I saw the list and I saw the names on it, and I had read some of these books, like I read your book. I was like, oh, that's a book I've given 5 stars. Well, nice to know my debut is going up against these amazing books. So,
well, you've got Beautiful Undone, Death's Disciple, Hard to Desparia, Ruptured Sky, and Where Madness Lies in your list.
Yes,
so
yeah.
you just need to bubble to the top of the other 5 books.
Absolutely. So we've been doing something fun on the panels. Each panel we've been talking about different kinds of characters in the book. So we did the main character, we've done the villain, we've done the best friend, we've done favorite side characters. And today we're going to talk a little bit about whether or not you have non-human characters in your book. And if you do, what the favorite one is and why.
Again, Tracy.
Oh man, you always do this to me first.
You have the floor.
If you're not ready, Tracy, we can come back.
Well, I'll never be ready. It's fine. So in most of my books, there is always a companion, an animal. And he's not so much a character in this one, but he, in terms of having a voice, but there is an old warhorse who is kind of like a psychotic axe murderer, and winds up being the companion of the child. So yeah, he has some pretty slick moves, and my editor said, I want one. So that's, that sticks there. Yeah. She can't control him for most of the book. He just does what he wants, and it's usually violent. their best interests at heart. There's the odd corpse, but yeah, we're going well.
I love that so much. We have a couple other authors that have been on past panels and they talked about their horses, and I'm sure they would love to know that there was a horse with that kind of a personality.
Oh yes, and I have a couple of horses. So, and I've had horses for a large chunk of my life, and pretty much some of the nasty ones get stuck in a book. It's never the nice ones I stick in the book.
Right?
Yep. Now, AR, it is your turn.
Oh my gosh. Okay, how much time do you have? So we start out with an anthropomorphic rhinoceros wizard
Oh
who
wow.
breaks into the kid's bedroom in the middle of the night.
Oh, I remember hearing something about this on Twitter.
Oh,
Well, I'm just saying, oh wow, because I'm like, I know that there's some others. I wasn't expecting that one to be the favorite, but continue.
Well, yeah, I so you start with him and then you're like, well, you're screwed now. You got to make up some more. So I've got this little gecko lizard that we actually produce these little dolls of that's about the size of a dog and just dumb as paint, who becomes the animal companion to the main character. And then we've got, at one point in the story, they actually run across these guys here, and you can see the Minotaur, the Lizard Man, and the Jinx Cat. And a lot of people enjoy the Jinx Cat quite a bit, although I will say that some people really jibe with the Minotaur, because the Minotaur is kind of this Spanish based. I like the idea of a bullfighter as a Minotaur, but he's entirely based in the idea of honor. And everything he does has to be honorable, and he must adhere to that code. And so his arc has been really satisfying for a lot of people. So yeah, there's a couple more animal people in there, but I can't remember who they are.
Great illustration.
Just a couple.
They're all over the place. Well, and that's what I like. Fantasy is different things. I'm just not a George R.R. Martin guy, right? I read the books. I like the books, but that's not why I read fantasy. I'm not there for the political intrigue. I'm there for the you can't experience this in real life part. That's what I love about fantasy, is that you can take a very human story and put some amazing twists on it that you never saw expecting and never experienced before, to take you to a completely different place, which kind of gets you into an emotionally raw area where you're not prepared or expecting for what the developments are coming out of those characters or those situations. And to me, that's the great thing about fantasy, is the more you can take me away, the more you can help me escape, the happier I am.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
not everybody likes the darker stuff, which is where I tend to go. Some people want to have that joyous escape that it sounds like you're offering, whereas I tend to write very character driven stories with slightly, there is always political machinations going on. There's always a darker element to them. So yeah, which is not everybody's cup of tea, and that's fair enough.
Well, but one, I really like the dark stuff, but two, that's the road we're on right now, right? It's not grimdark or nothing, but the shade of George R.R. Martin is kind of the dominant color going on right now. And what's really cool is to see people like you exploring in that milieu and kind of seeing what they can bring to it. Like, I'm going to do a grimdark story featuring a 60-year-old girl. That's ballsy, right?
might be my last book.
No, it makes me think of that video game that's really dark that has a little girl and the robot.
The Last of Us? Is that what you think of?
Was it one of the Fallout games, maybe?
I actually think my husband's got that one. I tapped him on the shoulder one day when he was playing it, and he nearly leapt out of his chair and hit the roof. He was so scared.
But it's got this little girl, and it's a little creepy too. But no, I'm more of like an Elder Scrolls high fantasy type gamer myself. But my husband was playing the other one, and I was like, "Oh, that looks."
He still keeps going back to
dark."
Skyrim. He
Oh
just,
yes, I put way too
yeah,
many hours in Skyrim.
yeah,
Sorry.
and it's I can't play the games like that because I get really motion sick really easily. So any of those games where you're actually the character and you're walking around, that's it. Like 10 minutes later, I'm on the couch with going. "Ooh."
Where's
He said, "Play Assassin's Creed. I bought it for you. You'll love it." The first time he jumped off a building, I just went, "Oh, I'm done. Yep, I'm done."
Oh goodness. So yeah, so we're in SPFBO. We've got great I'm gonna call them colleagues. I'm not gonna call them competitors because it's really more like a sort of a found family or a tribe of authors, really. At least in my case this year, going through and just connecting with everybody. And I told somebody, I don't know if this is going to end up being like a Hunger Games where all the tributes are holding hands before they go to the Hunger Games. And then they announce the semifinalists, and it's like, oh, here we go. May the odds be ever in your favor. But it's been really great just connecting with everybody. So, what are you guys going to be working on for the next 5 months? And do you already have a sequel out to the book that you put in for SPFBO?
Tracy.
Fuck are you? Yep. So, no, I've got and Rada was meant to be a standalone, but apparently I need to write a sequel. So that's what I will be starting on.
Yay!
It's planned. I've got a novella to do as well, and I'm working on finalizing I've edited a novella, which I'm just rereading to make sure I haven't actually put any extra errors in when I did my alterations, So that'll be out next month, and then the sequel for Rada, and then another short story. So I had originally started the series with these two books. I keep holding it the wrong way, these two books. And they work as a duology, and these ideas for short stories and tales that are like companions to it came into my head. So that's how Rada started, and it was meant to be a short story.
Wow.
And 150,000 words later, it was not a short story. So it wasn't a standalone either. So yeah, so I'm catching up on them, and to kind of then tie all the ideas into one eventually. But yeah.
And that was the moment you realized you were an epic fantasy author. Your short story is 150,000
One of my
words
author friends, I said to her, I've got an idea for an urban fantasy standalone. And I said it to her, and she said, "Tracy, it's not a standalone." She said, "It's at least 3 books." She said, "What are you doing?" She's like, you can't write a standalone. You're not capable of it.
What are friends for right there?
Yeah, that's right. She's very honest. It's always good.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? AR and Kat. We should ask Kat as well.
Yeah, let's ask Kat.
Let's ask Kat.
I'll do anything to avoid
Go
questions.
on, it's your turn.
Well, mine in the SPFBO, it is a standalone. It's 100,000 words. But since then, I mean, I put it out in 2021. I've actually jumped into a rapid release series, and I'm getting ready to release the 3rd volume of that in the next month or so. So that one is dark. Mine is more noble bright, the one in SPFBO. It's good versus evil, like classic fantasy. But this one, it's dark. It's very dark. So I don't know that I would say, oh, if you loved Val, come read Lord's Gambit. But yeah, so I'm trying to get the rest of those, the last 3, done and out by the end of the year.
So what's your experience with rapid release been like? And what does rapid release mean to you?
Well, starting out, I was going to release 1 book a month for 5 months. It's a 5-book series. I was going to do January, February, March, April, and May. And then as I was getting ready to upload book 3, because I had written all of these books in high school, so I was just revising them. The books were all done. When I went to upload book 3, the file was corrupted and I had no file. Then I went to the backup and the file was corrupted on the backup. And so I have had to completely rewrite book 3 and re-edit book 3 and everything for book 3. So that's why there's been this gap. So January's went out, February's went out, and then this one should have come out in March, and now it's going on into June. It looks like before it'll get out. And then the good news is 4 and 5 are already done. So hopefully we can resume the schedule.
4 and 5 are done and uncorrupted.
And uncorrupted.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's been good. I just recommend to people that they upload their files when they set up the pre-order before they announce their rapid release, having gone through it now, because that way you know it's done, it's uploaded, it's just going to push. I don't know why. I didn't even think to check it. I uploaded book 1, and then I set up the pre-order for 2, and then I uploaded 2, and then I was going to set up for 3, and then I was like, oh, man.
Yeah. A reasonable expectation that this book that I wrote would be there.
Yeah, so my husband was pulling out like old hard drives from old laptops and like putting it into hard drive readers, being like, is this file on this hard drive anywhere? And it's like, no. So yeah,
you probably just think you got a better version.
Yeah,
because you've really done like another round of editings by the time you've written it again.
Well, and it's a whole lot better quality writing it 10 years later, because the others I've been revising to bring up, but it's something I wrote when I was like 13, and now it's like, okay, I'm going to be 35 this year, and this book is way better than it was when I was 13. So
it's the only way to look at it. You can't look at it from the heartbreak lens because it'll keep bugging you.
That's right. That's right. So AR, what are you going to work on the next 5 months?
I'm an idiot. So Essa Hansen, who wrote Azura Ghost, I was talking with her on an interview, and I said, if you could do anything differently as a first-time author, what would it be? And she said, well, I think I would have written the entire trilogy before I released it. And so I'm the idiot that listens to that advice. So I'm working on a trilogy. The first book has already been to the developmental editor and back. The second one was supposed to be done tomorrow. It will be done, I think, probably by next Friday, and that will go to the editor. And I work on book 3. That'll take 2.5 months. I'll get that to the editor, and then I get to go back and write them all again. So
Yep. Yeah. So you'll be writing, and I'll be writing and editing, and Tracy will be writing. So we won't have a whole lot of time to sit and and pine.
No, well, how long does it is it 5 months or so before you know what who's out of the slush pile, or do they slowly release who they're favoring or not? No, there's a complete blank. Okay, so none of us know because none of us have been in it before, so that was probably not the question.
What I've heard is that blogs do it differently. Like some blogs will update, this is the one as they're going through. These are like, you're going to start seeing your name disappear, and then other blogs are going to wait. I heard someone say that their blog last year was one of the slowest ones, and they didn't find out till like the day of like the deadline day.
If we're lucky, the torture will end early, and normal transmission will resume in our writing worlds. And
what are we planning on doing? Is it like the end of The Social Network where we just keep hitting refresh?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm going to just try to keep busy. I edit for a day job, so it's like I'm going to just read other people's books, work on my books, not worry about it too much on the review side.
No. I am at chapter 5 or 6 of your book on the audiobook, Kat.
Oh wow! Thank you for listening.
She chose a nice narrator. She's good.
Talon is amazing. Talon David is a voice actor and singer-songwriter, and she really blew me away doing Val. Of course, it's still weird hearing my own book read back to me, especially by somebody else. But Talon was a huge, huge pleasure to work with. Do you guys have audiobooks on yours?
Not yet. I've recorded it, but I haven't edited
it yet. You got the recording.
So I've actually got a vocal booth here, so I can, and I've narrated for a few other people. I've got a little bit of trepidation about it because it's very difficult to remove my Australian accent completely. And I'm not sure that necessarily an Australian accent would quite gels with a lot of the fantasy crowd. They like sort of British accents or, yeah. But anyway, we'll see. I did a Scandi one for someone that I managed to put on the right accent for the whole thing, so that was all right. but yeah, we'll see.
I think Australian is one of the most pleasant accents there is. I don't think you could go wrong.
Well, maybe it's my bias because whenever I grab a fantasy audiobook, if it's a male narrator, I keep looking to see if it's Simon Vance because Simon Vance's narration is just superb, you know. And I go, oh, it's not. Who is it? Oh, listen. Am I gonna handle it? So maybe it's just all in my head.
I love Australian accents in audiobooks, honestly.
Okay, all right. Oh, God, now I'll have to master the thing. Thanks. That's what I'll be doing as well as writing those other books. Great.
Keep going the way you're going.
Yep.
You're good. You do the books the way you want to do them. That's why we're indie.
That is why we're indie. Although I was with a small publisher for quite a while, and she was actually great to deal with. But you know, I do a lot of pop culture conventions and stuff, and I needed to be able to get my books at cost to be able to make enough money at those events, rather than paying, what is it? You know, we pay cost plus 10% or something. You know, the publisher gets a kick, and it was just I wasn't able to make enough, so I just went independent. And when they're a small publisher, even with the best intentions, they can't, you know, you can still do the same amount of marketing that they do. So why not go indie? Yeah.
So what about you, AR? Our audiobook on yours?
I did the same thing Tracy did. I had a friend of mine who works at a local car dealership, and they have a radio booth. So every Tuesday I would go in and do 90 minutes until my voice gave out, and then go back the next week. And it took like 6 months to get the whole thing done. But the nice thing is, like, you know, when you do it yourself, I mean, Tracy, you've gone through this, you do it yourself and you think, okay, great. Now everybody gets to judge me twice. And
yeah, except I narrate under a different name. But now, of course, the secret is out. They'll know, all those millions of listeners who are going to listen.
But yeah, I got really lucky in the fact that a lot of the people that have listened to the audiobook went nuts for it. So that's been really gratifying, because I think, you know, it's part of the storyteller thing, right? There's a deep part of you that wants to sit around the campfire and say, let me tell you a story. And being able to do that with something that's, you know, that thick. And we're like, okay, let me tell you a story for 12 hours. And a buddy of mine was like, look, all you wanted was an excuse to talk for 12 straight hours. It's like, well, you're not wrong.
And if only you knew how much time it took to get that 12 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Double plus.
Yes.
Yep. But I think if you are a perfectionist, and you're recording your own book, then you can still turn out a really good product. If when you come back to listening to it and you really analyze how you're speaking and you're breathing and pauses and things like that, and you really pay close attention, I think you can still turn out something pretty good on your own. You've just got to have that ear and that you know, realizing that you're going to sit there for 4 times as long by the time you're finished. So yeah, but yeah.
So if you're watching and you want to read and or listen to the books here, I have Tracy and AR's social links and book links in the description box. You can click those and start reading them. And if you want to see the whole list, Zach Argyle actually has a really great list. And I'll drop it on the screen for people watching on Twitter, because I know you guys can't see the comments that the YouTube people can. But you can go to Zach Argyle's site, and it can toggle actually by audiobook or KU book.
Let's just take a moment to say thank you to Zach.
Yay, Zach!
What a friggin' great guy. Not only is he supportive of SPFBO 9, 8, 7, you know, from starting from whatever it was 3 years ago when he was in it, but he's got a fund going for fantasy authors who can't afford to put together covers or get editing, and he like helps them out. I think they got $5,000 or $10,000 in a kitty reserved for people. It's just, Zach is a wonderful human being, and to see what he's done for the indie community is great.
Yes, and he's not even in SPFBO9, someone pointed out the other day, and still did this for everybody.
Yeah,
he's just at home screwing around.
And True put one together for the India courts, and it's so pretty. So pretty. But yes, so thank you to all the people who are watching, who are not participating. You're reading, you're reviewing, you're doing fun things like creating websites. It means the world to all of us, and to Mark. Big things, because this is a free competition for the authors. It has to be a ton of work to coordinate this and put it all together. And Mark just spearheads this whole thing, Mark Lawrence. And I've got Mark's link in the description box as well. If you follow the blog there, you'll get all the updates and see who makes it to that point. So thank you both so much for joining. I hope you have a great rest of the day and night. Tracy?
Oh, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to go to sleep. Yeah.
Tracy's like, mic drop.
Yeah, I'm out of here. I actually was asleep, and I said to my husband, I just sort of lay down on the bed for a brief doze, and I kept sort of opening, going, "What's the time? What's the time? What's the time?" And he comes in at 1:15. He stayed up late or early so that I wouldn't forget. And he said, "It's 1:15 in the morning. You have to get up." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm up."
Thank you, Tracy's husband.
Yes, thank you. It's been lovely chatting.
Yes, thank you both. Good luck.
Good luck to you too. Yeah.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.